Hey, what's up, everyone? It's been quite a while since I've done something on this channel, so what is up? Today I'm gonna be talking about neopronouns and xenogenders. Yeah, that's great. I can't wait. It's been something that's been going on in the discourse lately, and I can't wait to get in on some of that juicy discourse. So, yeah, basically, um, I like to consider myself best when it comes to trans issues. I think that I have the best understanding of trans issues out of anything that I talk about in the politics sphere. I literally wrote a 15-page fucking document talking about everything relating to trans issues. And in which I actually purposely left out neopronouns and xenogenders until I could accurately form an opinion on it. Um, and you can say whatever you want, but I think that my opinion's a bit closer to the middle than I even thought it would come out to be. And there is a bit of utility to that statement. The truth lies in the middle, because sometimes it actually does. So I'm going to talk about my initial thought processes about this type of thing. I'm going to talk about why people sometimes are super opposed to it, like vehemently opposed to it, without even knowing about it. And yeah, and I'll explain my position. I think I already said that. So, first, I want to acknowledge my biases. So, first bias is that I am not an extreme progressive. Um, I am progressive socially. I don't know how much progressive I am economically because I don't know that. But I don't really engage in super far left circles, like socialists or communists or anything like that. So I don't really have that kind of like way that I can learn about every single argument that these people use and like go down all the logic trees in my head. Um, but I am socially progressive, and that's all I can really say about myself at the moment. Um, so I will make an effort to make people as happy as possible, especially when it relates to LGBTQ things. So yeah, um, and I also think that some neopronouns are fucking stupid. So those are my biases. It's good to it's good to disclose that before I talk about any of this, because it gives you kind of a disclaimer at the beginning. So, uh, now I think that in order to have a conversation about neopronouns or xenogenders, we kind of have to take a step back. And because let's be honest, a lot of the discourse around this stuff is going on in online circles, online political spheres, Twitter, Tumblr, whatever. And these things aren't something that is facing our real life at the current moment. I would argue that neopronouns are like ahead of their time in the sense that like they might they totally have like very good foundation to become like totally socially accepted like in the future. But I think they're kind of ahead of their time because right now, as it stands in America, although it might not seem like it if you're in like an echo chamber, 90% of people don't have an understanding of trans issues that like people in the political spheres have. Um, just the average person does not have time to think about this shit as much as like Twitter leftoids do. Um, so I think it's important that we recognize that and not expect everyone to know everything immediately, and actually take our time if you want to have a discussion to educate people. So, uh, some people even within leftoid Twitter still think that neopronouns and xenogenders are really stupid. Um, and again, it's just unless you are one of these select few people, you're not going to spend that much time thinking about it. Um, the community of people who like unironically identify with some of these like new genders and pronouns is very small, and it's not as vocal as a lot of others are. Either that or they are super vocal, but their vocalness is like kind of written off. Um, and the reason that uh, their vocalness is written off is because these people are literally the straw man of trans people that Jordan Peterson and like other figures like him used to rise to fame. Like, I don't mean to sound mean, I mean that in the most respectful way possible, but like, holy shit, like, Jordan Peterson literally got famous because he was crying about how Bill C-16 was going to add xenogenders to the vocabulary and jail you for misgendering people. Um, and it's just like the trans people in the community were able to say like, oh, like we're not actually like that. Like we just want to be called by the correct pronoun, like she, her, he, him, or they, them, and we want to have human rights and all that type of stuff. And now xenogender people are like, well, actually, we are that, and now we have a whole new thing to talk about. So yeah, it's a big thing. It's a lot to think about. But here's the way that I see it at the very current moment. There are things that I will do. There are things that I will try my best to do, and there are things that I will absolutely, under very, very, very limited circumstances, do. And I think that I should probably talk about that. So, what I will do is I will call people words that already exist and already have somewhat of an established meaning in society. So this includes they, them, or its, or anything like that. I see no harm in using it. It's actually, I thought it's would be a lot harder, but it's actually not that hard. So, and they, them is hard too, as about as hard as it's, but it's still something that you can do. I don't think it's that much to ask of people, but it's definitely something that you're gonna have to talk to people about. But I mean, as long as it works, then it works. So I will do that, and I will do my best to do that under like any circumstance. So the things that I'm gonna try my best to do is calling people the made up like Fay Fair Bunny or whatever the hell they're called. Um, the neopronouns, I guess you would call them. I just they I might think that they're fucking stupid, but I know a lot of people find a lot of things stupid, and I think that it's of no detriment to me to at least try, right? I'll give it a try, and if people start demanding some crazy shit, then I'll think about it again. But as it stands right now, I think it's okay to just sit and try and be respectful. So yeah, um, this also has one exception. Um, I will not call people who make their neopronouns slurs. Um, I'm like genuinely like I'm pansexual. I could use the F slur if I wanted to, if I really cared that much, but I don't, and I don't like using slurs. I don't like saying slurs, even if I technically can say them. So that's a thing. Um, so yeah, if someone makes their pronouns a slur, not using it. Sorry. Um, so the last thing, it's going to be the most controversial thing. I will not acknowledge the quote validity of any xenogender that's I don't know if this would be considered xenogender or otherkin. I won't do anything that has to do with like animals or anything that isn't like human. Um, so like I'm not gonna acknowledge like deer gender as a valid thing, like or even like shit like autism gender. Like I think that exists too. I'm not totally sure, but I'm pretty sure that it exists. Um, I'm not gonna acknowledge the validity of those things. So to explain why, I have to explain one thing. So a lot of um, a lot of these people online will like to use the argument like if you don't accept neopronouns then you're transphobic, or if you don't accept this you're a transphobic. And I think that usually I can understand where they're coming from with that, and I can understand where they're coming from with that. But the problem is that in order to say like, oh, I am this gender or whatever, you or let's give deer gender as an example. If I want to say I'm deer gender, I, whether I realize it or not, I have to acknowledge that I'm not actually a deer, right? So, like, for example, like, well, actually, I don't know anyone who identifies as a deer, but yeah, it's just like if you identify as a deer and you're a human being, you're gonna have to acknowledge like you're not actually that thing, right? Um, because when you get into the different species shit, it becomes very confusing. Um, so that's why I won't respect those identities. I think it is like disrespectful to trans people like as a whole, kind of to lump yourself in with those people. Um, and I would genuinely argue like if you call yourself like trans and you say that like you're a deer and you actually like identify as a deer and all this type of stuff, I would argue that that like literally is transphobia. Um, because the stigma that trans people have had to fight so long is like, oh, you're not actually the thing that you identify as, right? Like you're just pretending or stuff like that. And to unironically identify as deer gender or any of those other xenogenders, you have to necessarily acknowledge that you are not actually that thing. And I don't buy it. It's not happening for me. um, so yeah, there's my. I honestly, I think it's a lukewarm take. I think those are lukewarm takes, but that's fine. If anyone wants to scream at me, you can do it in the comments. I love arguing, so I'll respond to every single one of you. Hopefully. And yeah, I hope you all have a very good day. Goodbye.